So there's many questions I have. One of them being, why the hell can we not sit down in chairs in Honkai Star Rail, but we can do that in Genshin Impact? The second thing is wondering whether or not I should go for Huo Huo or Silver Wolf. Now, as you all know, I do hype up Silver Wolf as much as I can because I do believe she is the best character alongside Bronya in the game. I mean, they are the same character, the same person after all, just in different timelines. But Huo Huo is a character coming in patch 1.5, and she's going to provide a lot of value for your account if you not only don't have a nice, defensive option, or you need a character that needs to provide buffs alongside your team in exchange for maybe, actually in the character's this case, Huo Huo, having tons of healing. There is no downsides to the character along from just having a very hard to charge ultimate, but we'll get into that in this video. To make this video as short as possible, I'm going to just mention the best compositions both Silverwolf and Huo Huo shine the best in, respectively. And for Silverwolf, that is, her best comp is going to be Mono Quantum going forward. So if you're looking to play with that composition, I have it in a lot of videos. You see that in most of my gameplay. When it comes to my videos, period, I do use Silverwolf a lot of the time in other comps, right? I like to use her with Kafka too. I think those two characters work really well together. She's just a very nice, flexible nihility debuffing character, right? Nice offensive debuffing character. So you can pretty much use her anywhere, but I especially use her in Mono Quantum, and that's where I will be using her going forward. Now, we did touch on Zui XY in a previous video. Again, I remember saying I was never going to try and pronounce her name again, and here I am pronouncing her name and butchering it like for the 100th time. But XY, the new Quantum 4-star Destruction character coming in 1.6, is going to be a very nice character to put inside the 4-star Mono Quantum team. This team is really good because you only need these 3 4-star characters in Silverwolf, a character that has had or is going to have her first rerun. So if you are looking for the chance to pick her up and looking for a very nice low investment composition for Mono Quantum, well, I mean, I do believe Mono Quantum is especially low investment, but even lower because you don't have to have any of the 5 stars other than Silverwolf, then definitely pick her up for this composition especially, but then you'll be able to utilize them better in the future when the 4-star destruction character XY does come out. But this is the current Mono Quantum team comp in the game right now. It isn't the best team composition, but it is the most safe and the most reliable team comp in the game because you don't have to ever worry about anything ever going wrong because everything in this team goes right. You have 2 defensive options, you have 2 very strong damage dealers, one of them being the best damage dealer in the team, and you have a very nice debuffing character that ensures that this team comp actually works. This is the best and most easy to use team comp in the game. Nothing ever goes wrong with this team, but it does have slower clear times, and I think that is what sets it apart from other team comps in the game currently. But a team like this will become better once we do receive a Quantum Harmony character in place of Lynx. Contrary to what I just said, you can actually bring Bronya in place of Lynx for the Mono Quantum team, just assuming that enemy is weak to the win or set element of whatever Harmony character, whatever other character you bring in the team composition. So if you want to bring a character like Ting Yun, you just have to make sure the enemy is already weak to lightning, because then you'll have still a 100% chance of putting that quantum weakness on the enemy. So you want the Harmony character in your team comps for the most part to utilize their buffs for the whole team. Now you do get value for the Harmony character providing buffs to that singular damage dealer, mostly in the form of hyper carry teams, right? Ting Yun shines at that especially. But for the Mono Quantum team specifically, every character in that team does quite a bit of damage, and they also provide very nice utility. So you want a character that buffs the whole team rather than just one character, but can also specialize in buffing said one character as well. Now, one of the best ways of being able to do that is Planetary Rendezvous, because you give the whole team a 24% damage bonus at Refinement 5, all the way down to a 12% damage bonus depending on the level of your refinements for your Planetary Rendezvous. But what makes this really, really good is that it is for everyone in the team that is the same element as the wearer. So considering that Quantum Harmony character will be Quantum just like the rest of the teammates, you're going to give a 24% or whatever level of superimposition you have for your Planetary Rendezvous to the whole team. And this is pretty much, think of this as up to a 96% damage bonus for the whole team. That is insane if you think about it. But one of the best things about Silverwolf is that she shines really good outside of the Mono Quantum team comp even, because she is a brute forcer when it comes to the mechanics she has in her kit, and she allows you to play these pseudo mono compositions in Honkai Star Rail. So she essentially does fundamentally change the way you play the game. But I read your comments in the last video. I did say that a little too much. Now, what has made her better since the release of Topaz is because of how Topaz works as a character. Now, we've made plenty of videos going over the character, but one of the things you need to know is that she gets most of her value if the enemy is already weak to fire element. She deals 15% more damage if the enemy is weak to fire, but something you have to take into consideration is if that enemy does not have fire weakness, you lose out on this 15% damage bonus, and you lose out on the fact that you're going to be doing less damage because the enemy is going to be more resistant to the fire element and is not going to have their toughness bar be reduced from that element. So you're going to be dealing way less damage overall, and Silver Wolf allows you to utilize the special part of Topaz's kit and unlock her damage potential because remember, she is still a single target damage dealer. So long story short, if you want to force every single character in the hunt category as a hyper carry damage dealer, even if the enemy is not weak to set element for that character, you can essentially bring all these characters wherever you want, but you just have to make sure that you have Silver Wolf in the party to ensure that you can land their element coverage onto the enemy, giving that enemy said weakness. That allows you to pretty much bring any character you want in the team comp with her and utilize anyone in the game. She is a very nice, flexible character, and she will become even better as we get more hunt characters specifically. And last but not least, there is one last thing I will mention. We did talk about Ruan Mei in a previous video, and I do believe that she will have very nice synergy with Silver Wolf. That is because Ruan Mei is a character of the ice element. And as you all know, being able to freeze the enemy and delay their action once they do take their turn is going to be very strong for some teams in general. And you can see where I'm going with this. Some characters are really going to like both Ruan Mei and Silver Wolf in their team. That's all I'm going to say for now. So if you don't have Silver Wolf's 4-star light cone from her first banner, then you're going to get significantly less value on the character if you don't have some other premium options. I am using her 5-star light cone, so I still am able to get by with the character, and I honestly do more damage because of that. But if you don't have that light cone, or you don't have her 4-star light cone, then you're kind of lacking in options. But there is one particular light cone you can utilize on the character to increase her damage greatly, as a sub DPS in the late game. Now, considering Silver Wolf is a character that puts many debuffs on the enemy, she can stack Goodnight and Sleep Well relatively easily because she will apply 3 debuffs on the enemy, first being the weakness implant debuff, the bug debuff alongside the weakness implant debuff, and she is also going to apply the defense shred on the enemy, which means you already have 3 debuffs on the enemy and you're going to get the max passive for the damage potential on the light cone. So this is a very solid light cone if you plan to use her as a damage dealer in the late game. I would definitely suggest picking her up because of this. So Silver Wolf to me is a really fun character. She's very rewarding and she makes the game a lot more enjoyable to play because you're not forced into bringing the element that the enemy is weak to. You can instead bring this character alongside your favorite damage dealers and exactly do what you want to do, kill the opponent. Now let's talk about the upcoming character that I am greatly anticipating, Huo Huo. Now this character is very interesting. It's going to be very hard to see how she turns out on release. I am going to have 140% energy regeneration rate on the character to help with some of the energy issues she does have in her kit. As you all know, Honkai Star Rail is a lot different from Genshin Impact because there is not many ways of circumventing the energy issue with characters that have high energy cost burst, right? It's very different from Genshin Impact where you can just stack, up to 300 ER and past that on characters like Bennett and characters, like Baizu, for example. But in Honkai Star, you can't do that. There's a certain threshold you're going to, get to unless you have some very premium options in the game. Now, what that does mean is that she is a character because her burst is very expensive. It gives very solid buffs to the team. Her burst gives energy and it gives an attack buff to the whole team. That makes her really good for hyper carry teams and it makes her really good for dot teams. So you have a character like Bailu, Huo Huo is going to be better in every single way. And I'll go as far as say with the Eidolons that Huo Huo has, Bailu becomes a character that is literally power crept. I would say this is the first example of true power creep when it comes to a character of the same path, because everything, Bailu does, well, Huo Huo does that with her, second Eidolon, but mostly her kit in general. Now, one of the teams I was using for the longest time was this hyper carry team, and if this is what your team looks like, you don't have to necessarily change it. But Huo Huo would make this team a lot better, and the reason being is because you're able to utilize all of the buffs alongside all of the characters in the team, right? Bronya would love the energy refund because this character has so much energy needed in order to get her ult and maintain the uptime of the buffs, right? Because the buffs on her ultimate only last 2 turns. So therefore, you're going to have to cycle your ult a lot more consistently. Seal loves the energy. So that means she takes advantage of the attack buff and the energy, making sure that she does more damage with her ult and gets her ult a lot more consistently, being able to one-shot the opponent and get additional turns. And then Silverwolf loves the energy because then she's able to apply her debuff right from her ultimate, and her ultimate does good damage anyways. So that attack buff means that she's going to deal a lot more damage as a sub DPS in the team. So every character in this team comp is going to benefit from Huo Huo existing, and since she is a wind element, that means Silverwolf, as long as the enemy is already weak to wind, you're going to have a 100% chance of putting that quantum weakness on the enemy. Now, the last team is a little expensive, and I would say that team is only for players that already have Silverwolf, but you can use Ting Yun in place of Silverwolf and still get value with Huo Huo. I'll go as far as say, for most players, this is going to be the best team comp for you with Huo Huo, right? You have the two hyper carry eccentric buffing characters alongside your hyper carry damage dealer, and you have a hyper carry eccentric support, in this case Huo Huo, that provides the energy to the whole team and the attack. And remember, the attack Huo Huo provides is very valuable for Ting Yun because this means that the attack she already gives to your ally is going to be significantly higher. And what's better than one way of getting energy, but two ways of getting energy? Because energy from Ting Yun and energy from Huo Huo means that your hyper carry damage dealer is always going to have their ultimate. You know, at the time of recording this, I realized how much of a buff Huo Huo is for Jing. I mean, if you already have Fu Xuan, then you definitely don't need Huo Huo if you use Fu Xuan with Jing. But I realized just how every character that's coming out in the future is buffing this character. We're going to make a whole video on this, and I don't know why I'm even mentioning this in this current video, but it was just something I just thought about as I was recording this video. Anyways, back into the video. Now, there is one last character that would love Huo Huo as well, much like Seal, and that's going to be Daniel, because he is another character that is slightly dependent on his ultimate. I mean, his ultimate allows the character to not only dish out more damage because he was going to consume less skill points, and that means you can use a lot more skill points from your supporters, but also you're going to be doing a lot more damage because your ult does quite a bit of damage right before you even take your turn. Huo Huo is one of the most free-to-play friendly characters in the game because all of the 4-star light cones for the abundance path you can't use on the character. Quid pro quo is going to give energy to an ally that has less than 50% energy, and if you use her with Ting Yun, who is going to be using her ultimate a lot of the time, then you're going to be getting that ultimate faster on Ting Yun, making this a very nice light cone to use on your Huo Huo. We have other options like Shared Feeling, which is a light cone I'm going to be definitely testing out once Huo Huo does release, and this gives energy to the whole team. This is a lot of energy. If you take into consideration Huo Huo is a character that you're going to be using your skill on every other turn. And then Post-Op Conversation is the best abundance light code, because energy regeneration rate is everything in a game where getting energy recharge like in Genshin Impact is significantly harder. So that means Huo Huo has my stamp of approval for being a very solid free-to-play friendly character. The free-to-play option being Quid Pro Quo, which you can get at max refinements, and that is going to be the best option for a lot of players. So if you're looking for the best defensive option character in the game that is going to buff your character's damage and give them energy, then look no further than Huo Huo, who is going to love your hypercarry teams with Ting Yun. I'm going to pick her up, and I definitely will be showcasing the character once she does release, so look forward to that on this channel. That's going to be the video here. Now, normally I do go ahead and actually recommend which character. That's going to be the video here. Now, I typically do go ahead and actually give my thoughts on what character you should roll for in the videos, but in this video specifically, because we're dealing with two, double S tier characters, Silverwolf and Huo Huo, it's really hard to recommend which character you should go for. Now, I will say this. If you're planning to use the mono-quantum team composition, right, you want to utilize this comp like I do. It's my favorite comp in the game. It's really fun, it's really rewarding, and it's very easy to use. Definitely pick up Silverwolf. She is going to make that comp possible. But if you don't care about that, and you just want a very solid character to have on your account and to make your account better overall, then I would say Huo Huo, especially if you do not have a defensive option. If you do have a defensive option and you don't like mono-quantum, then you can just skip both characters in my honest opinion. We have other characters like Royal May coming out in the near future as well, and she's going to be awesome, I'm sure, right? She's our first limited harmony character. But that's going to be essentially how I answer the question of who you should roll for. That's going to be the video here. Hopefully you got something out of this, and have a nice rest of your weekend. Peace.